Let's look at the repeat function. The repeat function allows us to take a single design and repeat it multiple times. It is most commonly used to sew patches. We would take our largest hoop, we would hoop up the material that we're sewing the patch on, and we would fit in as many of that design in that sewing field as we possibly can. Let's take a look at the procedure for doing this. The first thing we do is make sure that we've put our design in the machine, and I've already done so. It's this Coleman & Company design here. And to get into the repeat function, I press design. It comes up already highlighted on repeat. I press set to get into the repeat function. And we're doing a general repeat, which is what we use most of the time. So I'm going to press set to get into my general repeat settings. Now it wants certain parameters. The first parameter it would like is the X repeat. What the machine is asking for there is how many designs I can fit in the X direction. The X direction is always left and right. To calculate this number, I take the total length of the patch plus the space that I want to leave in between the patches. So in this case, I take that total number and I simply divide that into the total length of the hoop. That will tell me how many designs will fit within that area. I've calculated that, and in this case, I can fit 2 of these. The next thing it wants is the Y repeat. How many designs will it fit in a vertical direction, which is top to bottom? To calculate that, I take the height of the design plus add in the space that I want to leave in between each design, add those 2 numbers together, and simply divide that number into the total height of the hoop. In this case, I've done that, and I've calculated that I can fit 3 inside this hoop. The next thing it wants is the X design interval. That represents the distance from the center point of the first design to the center point of the second design in the X direction. To get that number is very simple. You simply take the total length of the design and add in whatever space you're leaving in between each design. In this case, I've calculated that to be 142 millimeters. All of these dimensions from here down are in millimeters. Next, it wants the Y design interval. The Y design interval is the distance from the center point of the first patch to the center point of the second patch in the vertical or Y direction. To calculate that number, we simply take the total height of the patch plus the distance I want to leave in between and add those 2 numbers together. In this case, I've calculated that to be 78 millimeters. Now, that is actually incorrect because the machine, I'm going to start in the upper left-hand corner and sew down. So actually, when I type that number in, it needs to be 78, but it needs to be in a negative direction. And that is a very important little detail. If you're going to sew from the top down, that's a negative number. And now I press set. It also wants the XY design priority. Do I want to sew in an X direction first and then work my way from top to bottom? Or do I want to sew from top to bottom first and then work my way from left to right? In most cases, this doesn't matter. However, if I'm sewing on a fabric with a lot of stretch, I would always sew in the direction of the stretch first. Since I'm sewing on felt here, it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to go to the next function, which is the design interval mode. That is going to determine whether the machine is going to stop in between each design it sews or just continue on from one to the next from beginning to end. If I have it on frame stop, it's going to stop after each one. In this case, I'm going to let it continue, so I'm going to put it to jump, which is a value of 1. And I'm not going to mirror this design. So now I say, OK. My parameters are now set, and I'm going to populate the data. Since I'm starting in my upper left-hand corner now, I'm going to move my frame towards the upper left-hand corner. And of course, I'm always going to do my trace to make sure this is going to fit. So now I'm going to go into Ready. I'm going to go to my trace and start. Now I've moved over a little bit too far. That's why we always trace the design. So now I'm going to move this over a bit, and I'm going to trace it again. And that fit beautifully. Now we're going to come out of the trace and start sewing.